Hey guys, it's Luke on Shaun's channel. So, as you know by now, the ban list just dropped, and funnily enough, what no one was expecting was we got two hits to Superheavy Samurai, which was insane because this is set to be the best deck of the format coming up. But yeah, Konami preemptively hit them twice. One direct hit was, of course, with the Superheavy Samurai Scarecrow, which was unlimited, is now forbidden. And the second hit, which actually came at the expense of a lot of other decks, was the Psyframe Gear Gamma hit. Now, Psyframe Gear Gamma is limited to one. This, of course, affects Superheavy Samurai as well because that was like a main staple of a hand trap for Superheavy Samurai. So getting these two hits very early on is not good, but still, I've been looking at ways that we can still play the deck and kind of use Superheavy Samurai in a way that it still makes it one of the most powerful decks for the format coming up. Of course, the contention seems to be that Superheavy Samurai will probably be one of the best decks, and also Pearly, but Pearly also got a little bit of a hit as well, preemptively by limiting Pearly Delicious Memory to 1. I say some of the best decks coming up in this format. I think Sprite will still probably dominate a lot of places just because Sprite's a very good deck. Starter was only semi-limited, but this deck is still crazy on Master Duel, especially with the multiple variants. Runic Fountain was semi-limited, which, you know, doesn't really bother Naturia Runic too much because they are most builds running at 2 anyways. Of course, everyone knows I love Sky Striker, so having Engage come to 2, just Sky Striker best deck, let's go. So really looking forward to that. I say between all the decks in this coming format, Kashtira took a lot of hits, but I don't think it's really going to affect them too much. I mean, one Arise Heart is great because you know, once you out it once, that's it. They don't have another one, which is just absolutely great. But I still think in the coming format, it's going to be between Superheavy Samurai, Pearly, bit of Cash. I say Sky Strike might become Rogue, and Naturia Runic might still hold a place up, being one of the better decks. But my main focus today is Superheavy Samurai. I'm going to be looking at 3 builds that I've kind of made in these ways that I've designed them. They go without a Scarecrow. The deck is still very powerful without him. So let's just get into the different variants that we can go with. So I have 3 different builds. This is probably number 3 when we're ranking them on like what's the best to the worst. This build, it kind of it looks very similar to Superheavy Samurai the way it usually was, just minus the Scarecrow, of course. But with this build, I kind of leaned in on some of the Vernsloop archetype. So filling in some space, we have Misting Seedlings, we also have Flourishing Hills, and then we also have Awakening Forests coming in there as well. Because of this, since they're like level 4 Earth monsters, I found that, well, except for Misty Singlings is a level 3, I found that we can kind of lean in on some of the more synchro-y stuff. So we have the new Superheavy Samurai sort of boss monster, we'll call him. Superheavy Samurai Brave Masurao. So I got inspiration from for this deck when I came across it on yugioh Pro Deck. This actually reached the top 8 in Victoria State Championship 2023. It was uploaded on May 23rd. What made me kind of like really like this deck is since I was Earth Tuners in the form of Motorbike and also anything Soul Gaia equips to, being a Superheavy Samurai monster, having it become a tuner, means that you can actually take advantage of Double X Saber Gothams, which is a good sort of hand rip card. So this is one build I'd recommend. Probably the weakest of them all. This, of course, did get a top 8, so of course it's still very good. Of course it is, it's Superheavy Samurai. But I don't think it's the best form of the deck that you'll be playing going into this format. So we'll move on to the next one and see what the other variants are. Second best form of the deck that I kind of design myself. This one kind of just leans into more of a pure build of Super Heavy Samurai. So as you can see, I upped Soul Gaia booster to 3. I also brought Soul Peacemaker to 2. Main reason for this is because this one, although the last one leaned in on synchros, this one extremely leans in on synchros. One thing I would say about Super Heavy Samurai is there's not a whole lot of sort of back row removal. So what I thought was, since we're leaning in on Super Heavy Samurai pure in general, why not actually use one of the synchros that has a bit of back row removal in it. This comes in the form of Ogre Shutenjo. So it takes one machine type tuner plus one or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurai monsters. So of course it was a monster made for this deck. This card can attack while face up defense position like multiple other Super Heavy Samurai synchros. With a 2500 defense, it's very good for that. But when this card is synchro summoned while you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. And of course, as you know, the main gimmick of Super Heavy Samurai is we don't run spells or traps at all. I've seen a lot of people sort of side deck anti-spell fragrance, but what I find dangerous about that is because if people have it in the side, that means it's either game 2 or game 3 that they'll put it in. But I would mainly say that people going against Super Heavy Samurai would know to side in some sort of back row removal because they know the power of Prodigy. So I think it would be a bit of a dangerous game if you have anti-spell on the side or any other form of floodgate in the side deck in the form of a trap, mostly just because it could lead to your downfall later on in the game. If your opponent removes it and puts it in the graveyard, you're kind of shut off from a lot of your Super Heavy Samurai effects, because a lot of them you can even see on Prodigy right there. The first line is, if you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, you can place one Super Heavy Samurai Pendulum monster from your deck, except himself, in the other Pendulum zone, then special summon this card. But a lot of Super Heavy Samurai effects, it needs to have no spells or traps in your graveyard to get the full effect, or even activate the effect at all. That's why I kind of recommend leaning against it. So of course this is another build I find to be very good, but again, it's not my favorite. It's not the one I'd recommend going in this format. That comes in the form of this deck right here. I've designed this myself. I found this to be the best build for Super Heavy Samurai going forward, because of this card right here, Infinitrack Anchor Drill. Shaun introduced me to this card actually because he plays in Ancient Gears, and the card right now is sitting about €3.80 on card market, but I do see it going up because I find that this build right here is definitely the best for Super Heavy Samurai, mostly because Infinitrack Anchor Drill is very good because if he's normal summoned, he can kind of bring us up to a Link 2. Just reading this card now, its effect is, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Earth Machine monster from your hand in defense position, except for Infinitrack Anchor Drill. So of course, Super Heavy Samurai, most of the monsters here are Earth Machines, and this has great synergy. Also, the fact that it's a level 4, it's great for our rank plays in the form of Spriggan's Merrymaker and Babushka if we get really stuck. Also, of course, Link plays for Ballista and Quilfer Genius. So that's why I think Anchor Drill is great. Also, good thing about Anchor Drill is that you can actually search it off of Ancient Gear Box, which of course you search when you bring out Ballista. So Ancient Gear Box is if the card is added from deck or graveyard to your hand, except by drawing it, you can add one Earth Machine type monster with 500 attack and / or defense from your deck to your hand. So of course most people use this to search for their Tunnler. But I find this great because you can also search it off of Anchor Drill. Now, good thing about Anchor Drill as well is that it kind of opens us up to more rank plays, because the secondary effect of Anchor Drill is that you can target one other machine monster you control. The levels of both that monster and this card become the combined original level of those two monsters until the end of this turn. So that opens up a bunch of rank plays. So as you can see here, I added 2 more Xyz monsters just because I feel like they'd be very good hand in hand for Anchor Drill. Now, the good thing about Super Heavy Samurai is, of course, we have a lot of negates. We have Therian King Regulus. We are easily able to get Barone out. Of course, we have Boral Savage Dragon. But if you want just to extend, because if you're going against a deck that relies on spells a lot, I find Anchor Drill to be very good because it opens us up, if there's another level 4 in the field, to bring out Hope Harbinger, which, of course, once per turn, you can detach a material to negate a spell effect, which is very, very good. Barone can negate anything, and so can Boral Savage Dragon. And so can King Regulus. But if you know you're going against a spell heavy deck, number 38 is no harm as well. Now, say you're going into game 3 and you're kind of tight for time. Kind of a scummy way to kind of cheat out a win, I find, is if you're going second. I also put in number 23 Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld, most because this character can attack your opponent directly while it has Xyz material. Now, with 2000 attack, it doesn't seem like a whole big deal, but again, if you're going into game 3 and you're really tight for time, having a monster that can attack directly is fucking brilliant. This is just very important because, of course, we want to kind of scrape out as many wins as we can. So I'll just do the card by card real quick, just to kind of explain the deck and why I think this is the best one going forward. I've been playing it a lot. I definitely recommend it. It's the one that I designed myself and the one that I think is going to be the best one going forward. But if you have any other suggestions, just let me know. But of course, we run Jinzurku, the Star Destroying Kaiju. He's a machine monster, just a kaiju, great to have in the deck. Therian King Regulus. Of course, we have 2 copies of Monk Big Benki. I find main decking Pank is brilliant because, well, not only the fact that he's an Earth monster, which is great synergy with the deck, but just because he's a free special summon, basically, if your opponent goes first. So Pank in main deck, I think, is definitely worth the contention. 1 Tunneler, because it's good to bring out, because it's good and easy to bring out by tributing 1 Earth machine monster. And also, if he's in the graveyard, he basically works as a Pot of Avarice. Of course, I already praised Anchor Drill to hell, of course, because I found this to be a really good combo starter. And of course, that kind of just sets the tone as well. It's a new starter. Then, of course, we have Superheavy Samurai Wagon. Run it at a 3 as well. It's just very, very good. Of course, you have to run 3 Soul Piercer, 3 Prodigy, 1 Scales. This can be debatable, but I think Scales at 1 is pretty much fine. That's all you really need it at. Of course, your Ancient Gear box to search off of Ballista, which then can get you your Tunneler, your Anchor Drill. Honestly, Anchor Drill works better as a sort of a starter, so it's only kind of like when you are searching box, you're most likely going for Tunneler. But you know, it's good to have Anchor Drill in hand if you're able to search it off, just because maybe for the following turn, if you want some follow-up to set up more of your sort of rank plays or even link plays, it's very good. Then 1 copy of Soul Gaia Booster, 3 Ash Blossom, just because Branded is still quite big. Branded only got 1 card hit on the ban list, so the Branded is still very powerful as is. So definitely run it at 3 because we want to stop Branded Fusion. Then we have 2 Ghost Mourner, Moonlit Chill, 3 Snow Rabbit. This is very good because if we're going against a mirror match, it's good to sort of Ghost Ogre Prodigy. It doesn't completely knock off the Superheavy Samurai combos, but I still think Ghost Ogre at 3 is definitely good for this format. Of course, 3 Motorbike. Motorbike is great. It's a searcher for a discard, and it's also essential for when we're going into our Barone play. 1 copy of Stealthy. 1 Stealthy is all you need. There's no reason to run more. 3 Drone Lockbirds, because this is kind of heading towards a combo heavy sort of format. So definitely running 3 Drone in the main deck is essential. 1 copy of Soul Peacemaker. I mean, if you want to put in 2 Soul Peacemaker, I think that's fine. But just the fact that we have so many ways to search it, I think that you're fine to run it at 1. And I've never come into a situation where I felt, oh, I should definitely have run 2. Running of a 1 is completely fine. You kind of want more hand traps, as many as you can, just to go to sort of survive the format. And plus, we have way more starters now that Anchor Drill is introduced into the equation. So Soul Peacemaker at 1 is perfectly fine. 3 Effect Failure, just a good monster negator in your opponent's turn, so I definitely run it at 3. Just looking at the extra deck now, 1 Ancient Gear Ballista, search or box, which can get us either Anchor Drill or Tunneler. Quill 4 Genius, just because it is great since we have Pendulum Scales, we're easily able to take advantage of his effect that when 2 monsters are special summoned at the same time to the zone his card's points to, add 1 level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck to your hand. So of course that can be either Tunneler or I mostly search Regulus as well. So definitely Quill 4 Genius at 1. Apollosa, it's very easy to sort of spam the board. So Apollosa, it's easy to get her up to about 3 negate, so that's great to have her in the extra deck. Access Code Talker, if we're kind of going for the big sort of OTK, I find Access Code to be very, very good. Spriggan's Merrymaker, this is great because it's a rank 4, but what you mainly want it for, it's an easy way to go into Gigantic Champion Sargus, which of course you can activate his effect to search your King Regulus, and that's not even detaching a material. This guy can just search him for like no cost basically. So you can pretty much just Merrymaker into Sargus, and then if you get Sargus to attack that turn, you can go into Zeus, and then that's Zeus that's live twice pretty much, because you have the two monsters, whatever they may be, for Merrymaker, and then overlay it with Sargus. That's another 2 materials for Zeus, which is just fucking amazing. Then of course, not that this deck kind of bricks a few times, but in case you're kind of in a situation where your opponent's negating all your shit and you can't do much, number 41 Babushka, it's very good to have in the extra deck. Just run at 1, it's fine. As I already mentioned, number 23 is good for when you're tight for time or want them to attack directly to just win for time. Definitely go for number 23. Then Sargus, of course, very good. You already heard me talk about number 38 Hope Harbinger and Zeus. Superheavy Samurai Ninja Saratobi. This guy is great because he's good at popping spells and traps, and then it inflicts 500 damage to your opponent. And also he's one of these Superheavy Samurai Synchro monsters that can attack one in face-up defense position and has 2800 defense. So when you're applying the defense for damage calculation, it's good to beat over a bunch of stuff. Stardust Dragon's good not only because it's just a generic Synchro 8, but also the fact that it can be brought out with Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. So the good thing about Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon is if you know the combo that you're doing when you're going for your Barone, if your opponent chains something to that, what you can do is actually for chain 5 at that point, you can activate Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon to tribute this card and then special summon Stardust Dragon out. And then if he's brought out using this for the rest of the turn, any monster synchro summon by this effect are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So it's very, very easy to bring out to kind of like stop that interruption. So I definitely recommend running Stardust at 1. Of course, we have Borreload Savage Dragon as well, because he's just a really good generic Synchro 8. And since we run enough links that we can actually get some counters on him for Omni Negates, I find it to be very, very good. Of course, Barone, you know what he does. He's just pop and also a negate. Going on to the side now, we have 2 Nibiru, just in case you never know what we're going against. 2 DD Crow, and then 2 Ghost Spell as well. Just because they can be sided out for the 2-ups that we have in the main deck, like Ghost Mourner and stuff. Or just depending on the matchup, these are good hand traps to sort of go with. I also like to run Spell Canceller as well. Just because if you're going against spell heavy decks such as Naturio Runic, it's good to have just a monster that just negates all spells on the field, because we don't really care too much about spells. Of course, be careful because our Pendulum monsters, they do counter spell cards within the Pendulum zone, but mostly you're bringing out Spell Canceller after you do that big combo sort of thing and you're Pendulum summoning him out, so definitely don't worry too much about that, but just be very careful. I run 3 copies of Archfiend Eccentric. This is our spell and trap card removal without using a spell card, because when it's in the Pendulum zone, its Pendulum effect is you can target one other spell card in the field, destroy both this card and it, which is great because since it's a Pendulum monster, this actually doesn't send a spell card to our graveyard, it just goes face up in the extra deck. So that's our form of spell or trap removal. And then finally, I have a little Bestial package. I'm not overly familiar with Bestials, to be honest with you. I just know that they're very good. One thing I found that this can come in very handy for is, unfortunately, I'm giving away the secrets to one of my favorite decks, is when you're playing against Sky Strikers, and we know how prominent they're going to be in this format coming up because Engage is at 2. You can bring out all these Bestials mostly by targeting one light or dark monster in either graveyard and banish it to special summon it out. So when you're facing Sky Strikers, what you want to do is Most builds, such as mine, runs 1 rose. So if you have a bestial and you are thinking about bringing it out, you can banish rose to special summon it out, and then that kind of turns off their getting their full effect of linkage. And also, we all know how annoying Ray can be. Of course, I love it, but not a lot of people be a big fan. So if you can get Ray out of the graveyard to stop her from doing her bouncing effect, very, very good to run bestials in the side. And I think just one of each of them is very, very good. If I were to change anything, maybe up Magma Hunt to 2. But I think all the bestials kind of serve a purpose that running them all at 1 is perfectly fine. I don't really see a reason to cut any of them. So that's sort of the main sort of ideas behind running a bestial package. Of course, they're dark monsters, so don't really have a lot of synergy with the Superheavy Samurai deck, but of course this is kind of like siding in game 2 and 3. I definitely recommend them for the side deck anyways. So that about does it. Please let me know what you think. If you have any other suggestions, just let me know. This is the build that I'm definitely going to strive to make, and one that I'm probably going to build in real life and maybe profile it in real life. We might do combos in the future. Please let me know what you think. I find this to be the best form of Superheavy Samurai going forward. If you have any other suggestions, please let me know. I know that this is a time where we can really get creative and try to build the best Superheavy Samurai deck possible now that we don't have Gamma or Scarecrow. I don't know if people are still going to bother running Gamma. I think it's a really bad idea just because Gamma being semi-limited in Master Duel and in the OCG is fine just because they have Maxi, so it's okay for them to sort of be able to get Gamma to their hand a lot easier. But we don't have Maxi, thank fuck for that. But that's why I feel like Gamma in this build isn't really great. You're essentially running 2 bricks, so I wouldn't recommend running it at all. This is the main build I suggest that people make Superheavy Samurai around. Please let me know what you think, comment and let us know if you would make any changes or how you would like to play the deck in future. Please let us know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos coming up.